And this is where MAGA comes to talk. We're going to be live in just a minute. And of course, we'll be taking live calls. And we're going to talk about this health update of the president's. Oh, I walked away with my headphones on. That's not good. All right. Welcome, everyone. My name is Brian, and this is where MAGA comes to talk. Welcome to the program. All right, here we go. Welcome to the program, everyone. My name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. And boy, oh boy, do we have a lot to talk about today, because we got a big announcement about President Trump's health. We're going to go through that and take your calls. And I have a few other things that have to be covered that I'm going to get into on this program as well. All right, well, let's just go to it. President Trump, there was a photograph of him with a bruise on his hand, and someone was pointing out that his legs look swollen, his ankles look swollen. And Carolyn Levitt gave us an update in the White House press briefing today. So let me just play this from Carolyn Levitt, and then we'll get into it a little bit. That's right. Isn't that absolutely? I mean, this is just absolutely amazing what we're getting here from Carolyn Levitt and our favorite president, Donald Trump. I mean, what a detailed medical history that we just got on this entire condition. Very detailed. You have to be a doctor to understand 3/4 of what she explained. Meanwhile, during the auto pen administration of Joe Biden, we had a guy who's suffering from some type of age-related dementia and a whole bunch of other problems, to the point where his health was so bad they covered it up, and aides illegally using the auto pen were running the entire country, signing pardons, signing bills, sending military strikes and everything else illegally with an auto pen. And, oh, nothing to see here, he's fine. And here you have President Trump, just like in the first term, with that incredible press conference with Ronnie Jackson, the congressman, when he was the White House doctor. Remember that? He had that great press conference of going through everything. Talk about transparency. You know, when President Clinton was president, he never released any of his medical records. And a lot of people speculate he had some type of STD or something. That's why he didn't want to release it. But he never released his medical records. None of them have until now. President Trump in his first term, and now this. And so far as this condition, I'm in Florida. I live in South Florida. We have the oldest population in the country. So about half the guys in the state of Florida are older and have this condition. And sometimes they wear like socks, special socks. They sell them like at the drugstore. People buy these special socks that they wear on their legs. And so far as the bruising, that is very normal for people that age. Sorry, guys, he's A-okay. And, when you guys remember how the media reacted when President Trump, I know, this is spectacular. Compression socks. Yeah, a lot of guys wear compression socks. And by the way, not just guys over 70. I see a lot of guys that are 50 and above who wear compression socks all the time. Sometimes they wear them just on one leg. You see this all the time. Sometimes you see people wear things on their hands too. It is very normal, especially when you're shaking hands all day with people. It's a very unusual thing. But if you remember in the first term, when President Trump got COVID, oh my goodness, the reaction of the media, they were so excited. Remember this? And they were blaming him. And, because of that he does this and he eats that and his weight and all this stuff. You remember all that stuff? It was disgusting the way the media reacted. And then, of course, he did the drive-by out in front of Walter Reed, and we felt great. But sorry, liberals, President Trump is A-okay. Here's an article in the Daily Mail about it. White House reveals Trump's chronic health condition as he suffers swelling and bruises. Sensationalized much here at the Daily Mail? Give me a break. It's no big deal. President Trump is A-okay, people. All right? He's A-okay. I tell you. But, the main story, which I think is the biggest story out of the entire thing, is how transparent the president is being when it comes to his health. He didn't have to have the White House press spokesperson, Carolyn Levitt, come out and give such a detailed report. She could have said, yeah, he's got some circulation issues. The doctor told him to take aspirin and wear some compression socks. Right? He didn't have to do all this, but he did it. And I know a lot of people are going to make a big deal about it. Here's a close-up of his hand. They got him all excited. If I shook hands as many times a day as he does, every day of the week, year after year, I'd probably have a lot of problems too. Okay, wouldn't you? Could you imagine shaking hands like that all the time? And then they have the ankles here. I don't know. It doesn't look that big of a deal to me. Here's a picture of his hands with the bruising on them. And that's from aspirin and the handshaking that she was talking about. No big deal. Sorry, guys. He's fine. And he'll continue to make America great again and doing all the great things he's doing. And, you got to, when you look at his age, he has more energy than guys that are 30 years younger than him. That's one of the reasons he's so successful. He is not a mortal man. He's just not. He is a little bit beyond, he is superhuman. And I'll tell you, though, he has been working so much in these 6 months that he's been in the White House. He does need a vacation. I would like him to be able to take a week off. Wouldn't you? Do you guys think President Trump deserves a vacation? I do. And I'm so excited. I mean, isn't this second term just absolutely amazing? And it's so exciting that it's non-consecutive. It doesn't even make it better that it's non-consecutive. And, it's beautiful. Now, there's a lot of other things that went on today. Did you see that Burgum and Bondi went to Alcatraz today? Not Alligator Alcatraz. They went to the original Alcatraz. And what a great place to have a detention center out on the West Coast for the illegals. I can think of no place better than the original Alcatraz. So all those liberals in San Francisco can see what is their city is being rid of. I'm going to go through some other stories. You're welcome to call in if you're watching live. The number is pinned in the live chat, 888-465-2631. This is Secretary Burgum. He's at Alcatraz. Listen. Wouldn't that be great? Now, of course, they'd have to demolish the whole thing, and I don't know what the I don't know if it's is the prison building itself a national landmark, or should it be? I don't know, but I know this. I know this. The liberals, the Democrats, no matter what, no matter which one it is, anytime they open their mouth, they're always supporting the wrong people, right? Criminals, bad guys, illegals, foreigners. And the very idea that Burgum and Bondi went to the real original, America's first Alcatraz in San Francisco, just watching the meltdown. I was watching it live. They went over on a small Coast Guard boat. It wasn't anything fancy at all. It wasn't like a Coast Guard cutter. I don't know what kind of boat that was. And I was watching them go across the San Francisco Bay in that boat. It is a long freaking way across those ice cold waters, isn't it? Oh my goodness. It is. I could not believe how long it took them by boat to get to Alcatraz. I don't know. Do you think those guys really escaped? I don't think so. But you know, everything that's going on with President Trump. You know, I've been talking, by the way, my name's Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Those of you that are new to my channel, welcome. Make sure that you subscribe to the program. I stream here pretty much every day, multiple times per day, talking about everything involving our great president, MAGA, and our wonderful country. But, you know, what's been going on for the last 10 years, I want you guys to think about this. For the last 10 years, we have had a 24-hour news cycle on every outlet, on every platform, television, cable, internet, even the few newspapers that are left, whatever platform there is. We've had the mainstream media doing nothing but reporting bad news about President Trump, right? Just bad news all the time, lies, slanders, half-truths, mistruths, just nonstop for a decade. Can you imagine? Could you imagine? And he got elected and reelected. This is CNN today. Listen to this. What a great poll from CNN. You know, this is what the late, great Rush Limbaugh used to call an accidental case of journalism. Remember that? Oh, man. Didn't Rush have a lot of great sayings? That was a good one. And CNN, only 28% of Democrats view their party favorably. Isn't that something? You know? And you know, President Trump, when he gave an interview yesterday to Solomon, I played some of the clips on the stream this morning. And he said the Democrats, they always stick together. Well, not so much lately, huh? They're not sticking together so much lately, or they would have, you know, that's an approval rating among Democrats. You know, and the Democrat Party, what's happened to the Democrat Party is many dysfunctions. But overall, I mean, they have no leader, they have nothing. Their star right now is this Zorro guy in New York, who I got a clip of him we're going to get to in a few minutes. This one soundbite of Zohan should run him out of the race today. And I'm going to get to it in just a little bit. It's you know, it's textbook of what he is. But that's their best hope right now. That's it. That's what they got. Newscom's a joke. He just said the other day, he was asked in a podcast interview if 8-year-olds should be able to have sex change operations, and he wouldn't say yes or no. He couldn't even commit to an answer as to whether an 8-year-old child should be allowed to get a sex change operation. I mean, my goodness. Could you imagine if your whole life was defined by something you did at the age of 8? I can't even remember being 8. I can remember being younger than 8. Like I can remember telling people I'm this many 3 and holding up 3 fingers. But I don't. What grade are you in when you're 8? Is that like second grade? I don't remember ever telling someone I was 8. I can remember telling people I was 3. I can remember telling people I was 5. I can remember telling people I was 6 and other ages, 11, 10. I can't remember 8. So could you imagine, you know, you're a grown person, you're a grown adult, right? And your entire life was changed by a decision you made when you were 8 years old. So Newscom's out. I mean, he's just done. I mean, he's out. He's doing all these interviews, and every interview he does, he makes it worse. Zohan's the best they've got this week. And among Democrats, only 28% approve of their own party. And one of the things that's happened with Democrats is this. They've been taken over by radical activists and racists. That's it, right? And radical lunatics and racist, anti-white racist, they're just, you know, Americans don't like that. They don't like that. They also don't like socialism and communism. That's a reality. All right, let's get back to it. Here's another clip. This is Brian Stelter, who they fired him on CNN, and then they brought him back. And he's here with Dana Bash talking about the end of NPR and public television, because the Senate voted today to cut the funding of public television and public radio. And remember, Dana Bash, her husband that she gets the Bash name from, she used to be married to John King on CNN, but her husband that she got the Bash name from is a top CIA guy. So she's CIA. Listen to this. This is Dana Bash with Brian Stelter today. Okay, Daniel Ty, I don't know that show. Okay, you know, the thing about, I'll talk about public television, then public radio, but public television, okay? When I was a child in the 70s, okay, I watched public television. There's a few shows that I watched on public television. This was in the 70s. Of course, Sesame Street, right? The Electric Company. There was another show that's kind of been forgotten that I used to like, 321 Contact. Everybody remember 321 Contact? That was on PBS. And that was it, okay? That was it. And the reason that we watched public television back then was pretty simple. What do you think it was? In the 70s, why did kids watch public television, and when did they stop watching it? It's a simple, I'm not going to troll for you guys to call in and guess on it. I just want to tell you. Back in the days of public television, we had 4 channels. ABC, NBC, CBS, the 3 networks, and then your local PBS channel. There was no children's programming, except on Saturdays when you had cartoons and a few live action like Land of the Lost and stuff. So back, you know, in the 70s and before on television, as kids, you didn't really have a lot of kids programming. It was made for adults, and there was nothing. Then Nickelodeon came around and started having children's programming, and slowly over the years, there were alternatives. So public television does not really serve a purpose anymore. And the few things that are there that people watch are profitable. Sesame Street is incredibly popular. There's some other programming. Was Dora the Explorer on public television, or was that a Disney Channel show? I don't remember. But Sesame Street certainly is popular. And some of the documentaries they do are commercially viable too. But there's no need for it anymore. So far as public radio, okay, you know, public radio, I've talked about this many times, so I'm not going to get into too much detail about it, but about 15 years ago, National Public Radio built a brand new facility at their national studios in Washington, D.C. They invited the entire press corps to come and tour it. And you can look up this story online. It was 15 years ago. It might have even been a few years longer. And it was a big disaster for National Public Radio. You know, Republicans have wanted to defund public television and public radio forever. And by the way, even in the Reagan era, Republicans were talking about cutting the funding for public television and public radio. And like everything else the Republicans promised, only Donald Trump has delivered, right? Defunding public radio, public television, overturning Roe v. Wade, closing the border, all these things. Donald Trump's the only one who has done the things on the Republican platform. It's absolutely amazing. But anyway, public television gave a tour of their new studios. Not only did they have high-tech, state-of-the-art, they had studios that were just for one person that did one show. Can you imagine me if I had my own studio at the radio station that nobody else could use? That's absurd. They had a beekeeper full-time on staff who had beehives on the roof of NPR so that the on-air personalities could have fresh honey right from the beehive. I'm not kidding. They, radio, like the radio station that I work at, we have high-tech studios. I talk about how we have amazing studios, but it's a private business. But public radio, they're always crying poor mouth, just like public television. They have state-of-the-art everything, and they always have, because they have unlimited funds. And on top of that, both public radio and public television also have sponsorships, which they're not allowed to do according to the law, but they do it anyway because they get the government funding. They're not supposed to be commercial, but they are. And they always have been. So about time that all this liberal crap and I saw the heads of public radio and television give an example of our liberal bias. They used to have a woman, Diane Rehm, and she's passed away. They had never had a conservative host on public radio, ever. It's always been liberals. Even their documentaries on public television have always been from a liberal viewpoint, and that is a fact. And it's about time. It's so nice to have a Republican like President Trump who actually accomplishes the Republican Party platform. Now, we got some more things that I want to share from the press conference today. But first, I'm going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, now Carolyn Levitt, she's 27 years old. Is that Gen Z? She's got to be Gen Z, or is she the last group of millennials? But I'll tell you this: she is probably the smartest and most competent 27-year-old in America today. She's young. She's been doing this job for a couple years, so she started young, and because she was working for the campaign, she was actually there working under McEnany during the first term. She is wise beyond her years, and she handles these low-life scumbuckets in the fake news media like no one else. I mean, she is like the best press secretary we have ever had. I'm so impressed by her. And I'm going to go through some of the highlights of her press briefing today. Here she is. She's talking about some of the illegals that have been deported. I mean, you know, isn't this, are these dreamers that you liberals are always talking about? Attempted rape of a child. And, you know, the thing about all of these crimes that these people commit, like this guy, I mean, that's awful what he did there. It's just beyond description. These are crimes that should never have happened and would not have happened. You know how President Trump says this war in Ukraine and Russia wouldn't have happened if I was president? These are crimes that would not have happened if Trump was president the last 4 years. These are people that came over here and, you know, back in the days of the Old West, the Butch and Sundance days, the bank robbers, the train robbers, the horse thieves, they'd run to Mexico to hide from the posses. Now the opposite is true. They come from Mexico in the United States. They're undocumented. So a lot of these people, they're hardcore criminals in their home country. They come here, I don't have any documents. What's your name? They make up a name. How old are you? They make up a birth date. And they get it's like being in the witness protection program. They get a whole new identity from the government under the auto pen administration. And they do what criminals do. They reoffend, especially the sex criminals. Anyway, let's go through this. This was today, Carolyn Levitt in the White House press briefing. Oh my goodness. Mm. Yeah, and Debbie Wasserman Schultz is at Alligator Alcatraz wanting them to get better toilets. Now, you know how you guys that watch it, you know, anytime I go on the air, if you watch me early in the mornings, I always check the phones to make sure I turn the phones on. And I broadcasted live from the radio station today, and I forwarded the phone number to the radio station. So if you've been trying to call, I didn't check the phones before I went on the air. I've got the number forwarded to the radio station. So I'm going to take a break and I'm going to forward the number, and then when I come back, I'll continue with where I'm going here. But you can also call me live on the air. So let me take a quick break, and then I'll be right back, and I'll open up the phones. Okay, be right back. All right, we're back. Okay, I got the phones forwarded back to my studio. I got a text from the radio station. The phones were ringing off the hook at the radio station. People looking for me, like, what's going on, Brian? You know. So if you'd like to call in, the numbers, if you're watching live on YouTube, the number's pinned in the live chat. And if you were trying to call over the last half hour and somebody else was answering, that's why. All right, so you're welcome to call in about anything I brought up so far, and I've got a lot more to share. Let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
What's up, man? My name is Josie, calling from Virginia. Just wondering where your sources are.
What source for what?
Just a lot of the inflammatory statements that you're making. I'd be interested.
Well, give me an example of I've said something inflammatory. Give me an example of something I've said that is inflammatory that you.
I just want your where you're getting your news from first, if you don't mind.
Well, you gotta give me a specific thing you heard me say, and I'll tell you where I got it from.
Yeah, sure. Alligator Alcatraz and conditions being good enough for enslaved people.
Oh, okay. The Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, as well as the Governor and Secretary of States of the state of Florida, they both talked about it, the conditions at Alligator Alcatraz.
Right. And then it was later audited by both Congress and Senate. And
it hasn't been audited. It's been open like a couple of weeks. No one's audited anything. And the House and the Senate are both run by Trumplicans. No one's auditing it. It's
Trumplicans? What is that?
Trumplicans, that's the new Republican Party. The MAGA movement, we've taken over the Republican Party. Trumplicans?
Oh, interesting. I hadn't heard that before. Okay.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But sorry.
You heard it now.
I don't want to get off topic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the conversation about Kristi Noem, all of that information, as of the last 2 weeks, I think reported on MSNBC and Fox News, is that the federal government has said that Florida, the state of Florida, is now responsible for Alligator Alcatraz.
No, that's not true. Alligator Alcatraz is a Florida state facility. However, they're in a partnership with the United States federal government because of the illegals that are there. So they must maintain facilities up to federal standards, which are above those of the state of Florida, and they've done that. But you got to really stop watching MSNBC. Those are.
Well, that's why I point out Fox News reported as well.
I don't trust Fox News either. They hate Trump over there.
Well, and I think that's the point of this call, is just where you get your news from.
Well, see, this is the deal. Unlike you, I'm a grown-up. All right? Like, how old are you?
That's not what I'm asking.
I'm telling you, I am telling you, I'm a grown-up. I'm 54 years old. I have been following the news since I was a child, and I have something that you don't, which is life experience. You know, I consume news any minute that I'm awake. I'm consuming news, most likely. Okay, so I read lots of sources.
In order to make educated statements, you have to cite your sources.
Listen. I'm not writing excuse me. I'm not writing a term paper. I'm not writing a term paper. No.
You learn that there as well.
No,
so I'm asking for your sources.
I am not writing a term paper for college or a high school to turn in that has to have footnotes that are cited.
You have a platform that you're speaking to, and I've asked
several
times.
I have been on the air for 35 years. Okay, and doing a show. Just like this. I am well educated and informed on all the issues that I talk about, and every time I utter something, I don't have to give a footnote. This isn't high school. This isn't a college class. But what have I said that's not true, that you take issue with?
I'm not accusing you of being of providing false information. What I'm asking for is your sources. That's it.
Well, most of it, what I do on I'll tell you this, what I do on the show, okay, most of the things, I do show prep, right? I do a morning show. I'm on a whole bunch of radio stations. I have my podcast and my YouTube channel here, okay? I get up every morning about 1:30 in the morning, and by 1:45 or 2 a.m., whenever I get out of the shower and get my coffee, I start reading the news all over the place. I read all kinds of news sources. And if you follow,
provide some examples?
I'm answering your question. If you follow me on X at Brian Craig Show, most every news story I read each and every morning, going back, the last 13 years that I've been on X, I post it to my X. So if I read a story, even if I don't talk about it, I post it to X. So pretty much everything I talk about that's news, that's in the news, is posted to my former Twitter feed, now known as X, Brian Craig Show, since you asked.
Okay, yeah, I'll go check that out and look into where you're getting a lot of your information.
And a lot of it is life experience. You know, when you grow up and you have life experience, you experience a lot of things and have life experience is an education. All right, hey, listen, I appreciate the call, man. Take care. Oh my goodness. Oh boy. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Brian. Good afternoon. This is Nick out of Baltimore.
Hey, Nick.
I wanted to just mention a couple of things here. I love what Pam Bondi and the administration are doing. I hope they do redo Alcatraz. That's perfect. I agree with you. The other thing I wanted to mention was my late father. During the 80s, when the Mariel boat lift, he said the following: Castro has flushed his toilets on us.
Yeah.
You know, we've got all these people. And with the Democrats over the years, including President Obama, especially Obama, he allowed the world to flush their toilets on us, including
That's right.
Biden. Biden did the same thing. And this is what we're dealing with. You mentioned, Carolyn Levitt mentioned, ICE Baltimore. They're picking up people here. So all over the country, Salt Lake City, everywhere. So this is what we're having. President Trump and his excellent team have had to clean up so much of a mess, not only in this country but around the world. They set so many fires everywhere. It's amazing what he's been able to get done.
Absolutely, it's amazing, and it's something to be celebrated. I was talking just about this thing of defunding public radio and public television. Republicans have been talking about doing that since President Reagan was in office. And you look at what President Trump has done. He's accomplishing the entire Republican Party platform, overturning Roe v. Wade, shutting down the border. He ended affirmative action, defunding Planned Parenthood's happening, shutting down the Department of Education. All these things that these other Republicans moving the embassy in Israel to Jerusalem from Tel Aviv, and all these things that Republicans have promised us over the years, never intended on doing. He's accomplished all of them and more.
And he doesn't get any credit for it. He better get the Nobel Peace Prize for this current thing in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I wanted to talk about the PBS thing for a second. You remember you mentioned you saw the chairman, and I'm not going to take up too much time, of PBS or NPR. She's on the board of directors of some big bank.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. I forget her name, Catherine something or other. But, these people have money, and the fact of the matter is, I'm familiar with some PBS stations that were sold. There was one up in I think, not Syracuse, New York, Rochester, New York, somewhere, it's Schenectady.
Uh-huh.
They sold one of they buy all these stations, and they have 3 or 4 stations in a network, and they sold a couple of those stations, and they've gone commercial. One in Pittsburgh, WQED bought a fledgling UHF station back in 1963. They sold it, and it's now an ION. It's a commercial station.
Yeah.
So I hope it happens everywhere.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah, I worked at a big station in Miami. This was in the early 90s. And there was a sports guy. He was a big guy. He covered the World Series on a national broadcast and the Super Bowl and everything. And he left and took a job at a local public radio station in Miami. And I said, what are you talking about? You're calling the Super Bowl. You're calling the world. What's going on? They pay more. Public radio, it pays more. You know, and it's true. They've had a racket going. I mean, you look at this woman that's on all the talk shows from public radio. How much does she spend on her hair and clothes? She's highly paid.
Oh my God, you know. And did you see the equipment?
Oh, they have the best equipment.
Some of these places.
Public radio and television has better equipment than they have in Hollywood, I'm here to tell you. And anybody that's I've been to public radio and television stations multiple times at multiple stations over the years, and the equipment they have is always state of the art, and most of it is just sitting there not being used. They have too much equipment because they just buy it all the time.
We had the PCR equipment when I was working in radio. We had the PCR equipment together with tape and glue, and we had to wind our own carts. Remember, we had cartridges?
Oh yeah, that's right. Hey, Nick, good to talk to you. I appreciate it. Great day. Take care. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian, it is Ricochet with Checker. How you doing?
All right. What's up?
Good. Hey, something I wanted to address with this Alcatraz thing is something you don't know. I worked for the Federal Bureau of Prisons back in the early 90s as a correctional officer at FCI Inglewood and went to the Federal Academy and all of that stuff. Worked with the marshals and traveled around to all the different prisons. The facilities at Alcatraz is not only cleaner and newer, but has, the toilet systems, the sink systems, the everything is, state of the art, although it's, in a different type of enclosement or an encampment.
Yeah.
But they are better than, and the same stuff that's in every single jail and prison in the United States.
Indeed. Yeah.
So that 22-year-olds listening to MSNBC, those are reporters that's not in the industry. They have an agenda, and unless you go and look at it yourself, you can't draw judgment down on these things.
That's right.
They are very well taken care of. In my opinion, taken care of better than they should.
The federal, listen, nobody wants to go to any type of prison, but Alcatraz is not a prison. It's a detention center where people are processed before they're deported either to those great prisons in El Salvador or to their home country, But the facilities there, they have air conditioning. They even have lawyers there that work for them. They even have legal representation on site.
They have everything that they need and more. And my prison, too, on an FCI Inglewood, Colorado, they had an 8-track recording studio. So,
oh, my goodness.
These people are taken care of. And I know
they could start a band. They could start a band.
They could.
Yeah.
That was a house band.
House bands.
Or exceed anything.
Yeah. The thing is, the Democrats, with the alligator Alcatraz, the Democrats are doing themselves in. People are sick and tired of the illegals in this country. And then when you see so many of them are hardcore violent felons who commit the worst of the worst crimes, who has sympathy for these people? But hey, the Democrats are helping us out a lot and helping out the president by being stupid.
They are. And people just need to wake up and realize these are criminals. They're not there on vacation.
Indeed.
They're paying the debts of society.
Indeed.
And some of them way worse. So anyway,
all right, take care, man. Appreciate it. If you'd like to call in, if you're watching live on YouTube, the toll-free number is pinned in the live chat. It's 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian. It's Jack from Sarasota.
Mm-hmm.
How can you say that the people in Alligator Auschwitz have it good? I mean, really? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, they have it good. They have air conditioning. They're well. They have I don't have health insurance. They have full medical coverage.
Oh, by the way, did you remember to take a shower today? Because you were telling me that you skip it sometimes.
On the weekends. It's not the weekend. It's Thursday.
That's disgusting, Brian.
I might not take a shower on Sunday morning or Saturday morning sometimes. That's correct. Yes. All right. Appreciate the call. Now, Barack Obama said something really revealing. But before we get to that, I want to talk about Jupiter Joe Thomas. Oh, man, Jupiter Joe Thomas. You guys have been hearing me talk about Jupiter Joe Thomas for quite a while now on the radio. Joe Thomas, he does a lot more than annuities, I found out today. But, annuities is amazing. I am the kind of guy, I don't gamble. And when it comes to financial investments, I like safe investments. And annuities are amazing. I've heard people talk about annuities my entire life, but I never understood them until Joe Thomas explained them to me. Listen to this. You know, insurance companies are those who are behind annuities. So your money is not at risk. No matter what happens, no matter what catastrophes happen in the markets, your nest egg and your annuity is never at risk. Not only that, you're guaranteed a revenue stream that you can get each and every month in your retirement for the rest of your life. Now, I'm going to give you Joe Thomas's number. You know, he offers free phone consultations, and you can take advantage of this no-charge phone consultation with Jupiter Joe Thomas, no matter where you're located in the United States. And there's some amazing things about annuities. Ask him about the 10% signing bonus. There's an annuity that you get immediately. You get a 10% bonus on your money. So before you've even left Joe Thomas's office, you have made 10% off of your investment in that annuity. Is that amazing? You know, if you went into the stock market and everything went perfect, you might make 10% if everything went perfect in a year. But with Joe Thomas and this annuity, you can make 10% before you walk out of his office door. Ask him about that income double or two for health issues. If you have a health issue, you know, and you can't work, you're immobile, you can't get around, your monthly income, you can get doubled on that. It's absolutely amazing. Now, when you call for this free consultation, he's going to put together a custom proposal just for you. And I do mean custom. This is not some cookie cutter proposal. He's going to talk to you and he's going to put together a custom proposal based on your situation, your goals, your finances, everything, and your needs. Give him a call. Here's his number, 561-743-0999. 561-743-0999. That's 561-743-0999. And his website, in case you missed the number, is jupiterjoe.com. All right, so Barack Hussein Obama. You know, this podcast of Michelle Obama's is insane. I mean, you know, first off, her brother's a weirdo. And you've really, for the first time, gotten to see what Michelle Obama is like. And she's not a very likable person. I've covered some things that have happened on this podcast from time to time, as have others. But Barack Hussein Obama was the guest, and he dropped something that was just so bizarre. Listen to this. This is Barack Hussein Obama on the Michelle Obama podcast. Oh. Oh, boy. Mm-hmm. Non-binary. Okay, so Barack Obama just said that every young man needs an older gay man as a mentor? Is that what he said? Who needs that? What's that about? Is he coming out? Do you think Obama's making that move to come out? You know, it's astounding to me. This podcast, this is a beautiful podcast, I'm going to tell you, because it really shows you, this Michelle Obama podcast, you know, it's like a reality TV show. The Obamas, we've never really seen what they're like before. They've had all these walls of protection by the mainstream media. And now that they're doing this podcast, we're getting to see what they're really like. And they're freaks and weirdos. Every young man needs to have a gay male mentor? Why would you need to have a gay male mentor? Unless you're gay. What's that about? Okay, so the Democrats, they've got all their eggs in the basket of Zohan in New York. They're trying to make this lunatic mayor, and I got a couple clips of him that I want to share. And this clip right here alone is enough that would end anyone else's campaign immediately. This is Zohan running for mayor of New York. He's your Democrat nominee, and the guy that AOC met with yesterday. Oh my goodness. The abolition of private property? I've never heard that phrase before. I guess it's probably been spoken a lot in Russian back in the days of the Soviet Union, or in Spanish in Cuba. The abolition of private property? That's part of his platform? Well, yeah, but you want to. But if you take away private property and abolish private property, what about my home that I own, that I've been paying for over 20 years? This is the Democrats' best hope. It's amazing how many clips have come out about this guy. Nothing has come out about him that makes him look like anything other than an idiot. Here's another one. This is Zohan. Listen to this. The abolition of private property. I've never heard that before. Have you guys ever heard that phrase used before? Is that not textbook communism? Listen to this. What purpose do they serve? The incarceral state? I don't even know what that word means. Is this how they talk at these fancy liberal colleges that he didn't go to? Prisons serve no purpose, and he wants to abolish private property. So what happens if that happens? If we have no prisons, no jails, all the bad guys are free, there's no private property, what happens to our great country? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
So let's see.
You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Yes.
Hello.
Yeah, you're on the air.
Hi, Brian. Just wondering, what's your position? Do you believe that the Epstein list is a hoax, or made up by the Obamas and the Bidens, etc.?
Nobody said anything like that.
Well, President Trump certainly inferred it.
No, he didn't say that.
Well, what did he say?
Well, I'm going to tell you what he said, but
Okay.
but you're never going to accept it because you're always going to hate on Trump, okay? But I'm going to tell you what he said. He said, and he's talked about in the past, he talked about this in the first campaign about what a sleaze and perv Epstein was. But what he said earlier this week, that Obama, Comey, and others took the Epstein files materials in the list, and they've been adding things to them that they've just been making up. Fiction.
Do you believe that?
Oh, yeah. Of course, President Trump said it. Yeah, why would I not believe President Trump? When has he lied?
You believe that, Brian?
President Trump, when has he lied? Can't think of any times he's lied, huh? Because he hasn't.
No. It's not where I can't think of many times or any time that President Trump, I will address him as President Trump. President Trump has
I take President Trump's word as the gospel. I take his word as the gospel.
Believe that.
Of course. You know, look who we found yesterday. President Trump fired through Pam Bondi. He fired Comey's daughter, the federal prosecutor. She was the prosecutor on the Diddy case, but she was also the prosecutor on the Epstein case. So Comey's had these files and had access to them for many, many years. And yeah, and what the president has talked about is they were adding things to these files so that they could blackmail people into playing ball with them, like they made up the Russian dossier against him. Total fiction, the Russian dossier.
If you ask me, President Trump should
No, well,
fire
I didn't
Pam
ask you.
Bondi.
Nobody asked you. I didn't ask you. Who's asking you what Trump should do? You said if you asked me, nobody asked you.
I can't believe this. I thought you were a man of integrity.
Well, I
man of
am.
Character. If
I
you
am.
believe that, then you know what? I have a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn.
Uh-huh.
We both know that President Trump's name is on that list. Come on.
No, in fact, if President Trump was on that list, it would have been released by all the people that were trying to stop him from coming back to the White House over the last 4 years. They've arrested him, they've shot him, they've gotten mug shots, they've sued him, they put him in criminal court with corrupt judges. Why would they go to all that trouble if they could just release files on him that would disgust people?
Oh, so why doesn't he pardon? Why doesn't he pardon the secretary then?
What, Giselle Maxwell? He didn't say
Yeah.
that Giselle Maxwell and Epstein were innocent. Didn't you hear what I said? I'll tell you again. He said many times that Epstein was a creep. Okay, kind of, you're a creep too. The way you talk, you're kind of creepy with this funny voice you're doing.
Really?
I
investigate creeps, and I'm starting to think you're a creep.
Okay, whatever.
In fact,
But
you've displayed a number of characteristics that make me very suspect of you.
okay, whatever. No, I'm not suspect of you. You're just a weird guy with this voice. What President
Really?
Trump has said. What
It's
President
pretty
Trump has
funny
said.
because we seem to think you're a weird guy.
Oh, you speak for group now. He said this. He said Epstein was a pervert, okay, and a criminal, and did disgusting things on his island.
And attacking me.
But
usually when people attack other people, is
you're talking in a weird voice, in a weird way. You sound
Really?
weird. Yeah, sure. This is not how you would normally talk. And he said
I'm
they've
talking
added.
because there's other people listening. I have a group of people.
Okay, so I was
listening.
right.
It's not just me.
Okay, so I was right. You are disguising your voice. Okay, that's fine. He said they've added to those files with things that they made up to blackmail people. That's what he said. He never said Giselle Maxwell or Epstein were not guilty. Hey, listen, I appreciate the call, though. You gave me an opportunity to share some information about our great president, all right? All right, you take care. Oh, man, if you'd like to call in, please do. And, President Trump, he's doing so many great things. Huge story today that I want to share this with you. This is amazing what he's doing. And let me share this and I'll talk about it. Look at that. So Samsung, and by the way, it's like a $500 million factory, a $500 million factory. Samsung's bringing their washing machine business, their manufacturing back to the United States. A couple years ago, my washing machine broke. It might have been a Samsung, to come to think of it. It broke, and we called a repairman, one of those front-loader washing machines. And the part was in Asia. And they said it's the part, to get the part, it comes from Asia. That's where they make we don't know how long it'll take to get here. It could take 3 months. It could take 6 months. So we bought a new washing machine. And now here's Samsung bringing the washing machine business. Isn't this awesome? It's just like the 50s. Bringing the washing machine manufacturing back to the United States so that not only will it create jobs in this $500 million factory that they're constructing, but when your washing machine breaks down, you'll be able to get the parts because the parts will be made right here. Where was that? In the Carolinas? Trump has been doing this time and time again, almost since his first day of his second term. When have you ever seen a president of the United States bring people into the country like this? I mean, bring business into the country like this? Never. And this happens almost every day in this White House. That's absolutely amazing. The only problem is you know, young men in the Gen Z, like some of these guys that call me, the last thing they want to do is work in a factory and have a good factory job making washing machines. They just want to sit around and Twitch stream all day or something. But this is absolutely an amazing story. And any of you who have had to get a washing machine break and you call the repairman, I'm sure you've had the same experience I've had. Well, the parts come from Asia. We may never get it. So you go out and buy a new machine, which sucks. You don't want to get, you know, in the old days, when I was a kid, you used to be able to get things repaired. But you can't because so much of the manufacturing is overseas, it's hard to get the parts here. And who would have ever dreamed that there would be a new washing machine factory coming to the United States? Who would have ever dreamed of that? And by the way, no tariffs, since they'll be made in the United States. You know, and President Trump, I saw him say something that was very interesting about bringing jobs back in factories and manufacturing back to the United States. This was, I don't know, a month or two ago. And somebody had asked him about clothes, because so many clothes are made overseas. He says, I don't want to bring clothes manufacturing back. There's no money in that. He says, I want to bring real things, like washing machine factories and factories that build cars, you know, real things that make a lot of money and have high-paying jobs, not some sweatshop that makes shirts or jeans. And he's doing it. You know, it's amazing. President Trump is so competent. Could you imagine if every president we had was competent? We've never had a competent president before. They're all incompetent jerks that are owned by donors who do nothing. We've had a bunch of do-nothings as president. We really have. We all like Reagan, but compared to Trump, he was a do-nothing compared to Trump. And he was the best that we've had after Trump, right? You know, what President Trump has done, he's changing the world of politics. You know, I was talking earlier about Trumplicans. And he's changing the world of politics because the expectation of the American voter, you and me, has been raised to a level that no other president or member of Congress or governor has ever achieved before. So we're not going to put up with people that don't get the job done anymore. Now, if you would like to support my content, become a Patreon supporter. You know, if you become a Patreon supporter, you have access to commercial-free editions of all of my podcast episodes. Also, there's a lot of content that I post and my wife posts to my Patreon page that no one else sees ever, including a lot of videos, a lot of vlogging I do, and many other things as well. And if you become a top Patreon supporter, you get a live, on-air, thank you shout-out on each and every episode. Plus, you get your name up on the screen, too. There's a link to my Patreon page in the description of the video, and the direct website address is patreon.com/RealBrianCraigShow. Patreon.com/RealBrianCraigShow. Again, there's a link in the description of the video. And I want to thank all of the top Patreon supporters: SFjr, Christine, ETW, Chuck, Pamela, Nick, Wesley, Doris, Heather, David, Maria in Texas, Alice, LeeZep, Shawna, George, Brandon, John, Frank, Dale, Tina, David, Laura, Rob, Wes, Sue, and Janice. These are our top Patreon supporters. Thank you all. Now, if you're new to my channel, my name is Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure you subscribe, those of you that are new. If you're already subscribed, do me the favor of liking the video and sharing on your socials if you don't mind. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, everyone.